Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Saw a video, some of you may have seen it too, a very short sort of little video piece that Daniel Dubois had posted of him in the gym, smacking the bag and then turning to the camera and saying, Filip Hrgovic, I want you, I'm coming for you, and you know, I'm the daddy, I'm gonna smash you up, all this sort of stuff. Well, as we know, Daniel hasn't exactly got a reputation for being the most articulate of fellas, and for many years, a lot of people, myself included, thought, is this guy on the spectrum? I don't mean that disrespectfully, because some people are on the spectrum, it ain't a problem, But suddenly, from out of nowhere, even though he's still got that air of, how can I phrase this kindly, of not being the most articulate or eloquent of guys, he's suddenly come out of his shell, I'm reminded of that joke, about, I bought an ejaculating tortoise the other day. Yeah, he's certainly coming out of his shell, silly joke. But with Daniel, it's kind of the same thing, because he was so sort of, yeah, no, yep, and suddenly he's wanting to tear the place up and beat everyone up. Now, whereas you could ask what's gotten into him, some people have been saying, well, actually, it's more a case of who's he gotten into, because some people are saying that it's, he's got himself a nice girlfriend now, and he's getting his leg over, so to speak. So suddenly he's become, look at me, I'm a man, I can have sex with women, and it's all that maleness is coming out of him, all that testosterone's flying around, and he feels like he's on top of the mountain because he's in love and all this sort of stuff. We've all been there. I mean, again, I'm not sort of taking the piss, I suppose I am a bit, but I've been there. We've all been there. Come on, man. Let's be honest here. But I kind of like the new Daniel Dubois. I like the fact he wants to tear everyone's head off, and I think the victory against Jarell Miller, I mean, he really did show a lot of maturity. I think maybe that's the word. Maybe he's maturing, because against Miller, I mean, after 4 or 5 rounds, I thought Miller's getting to him. Miller's going to grind him down. Not a bit of it. Daniel really answered a lot of questions in that fight. About his character, people had cast aspersions on him and said that he was, lacked heart and lacked sort of mettle, mettle. I mean, the inner strength. And he answered a lot of questions in that fight, because he could easily have lost that fight. He could have mentally unraveled and just taken a knee or got stopped or quit in his corner, but he didn't. He carried on fighting, and he actually stopped Miller in the last round. And I mean, whatever you think of Miller, I mean, Christ, 330 pounds, that's a lot of mass. That's a big fella to stop. But Daniel Dubois, coming off the back of that loss to Usyk, managed to do that. So, as I've always said, I know I repeat this endlessly, but I'm going to carry on repeating it endlessly, because, losses don't matter if you learn from them. As long as you don't have too many of them, of course. And if you do learn from them and you come back and you're better, then that experience is a good thing. It's like when he had his eye socket busted and he set out the count against Joe Joyce. I mean, what was he at that age? 22, 21, 22, something like that. Very, very young. And that's a hell of a thing to go through when you're that young. It's a very, very serious injury, which could have cost him his eyesight in one eye. I mean, I'm not really strict about people quitting under certain circumstances. In fact, I'm not strict about them quitting in general, because it's their health, and they're not just there to be entertained, to entertain us. They have their own lives, and there is a life after boxing, so they have to preserve themselves. I always remember Cotto before the rematch with Margarito. Margarito was saying, "Will you quit in that first fight?" And Cotto's reply was, "Yeah, I did, and I'd quit again because I've got my family to think of, and so if the circumstances were the same, I'd do it again." He had no qualms about saying, "Yeah, I'll quit." And then, of course, he went out and smashed up Margarito. But with Daniel Dubois, he's definitely his confidence looks really high. How much of it is to do with his private life, with everything falling into place, fall in love with this girl. I've seen a picture of her. She's really pretty. She's a really, really good looking girl. And he's with her in public and everything. And maybe he suddenly feels like he's got a life that extends beyond boxing, that is more than just boxing. Maybe he feels there's a life balance now, because a lot of people who bury themselves in their work, whether it's boxing or anything else, they suddenly sort of they feel something's lacking. They might be very successful, but if their personal life isn't there, and it can affect their professional life as well, because they think, well, why am I doing this? I'm just going to work, going home, and sitting there with a pot noodle and in front of the telly. It's no good, is it? But yeah, Daniel, I like the new Daniel Dubois. I think it's quite funny to see him, calling out Hrgovic and everyone else and wanting to beat people up, because it's like the worm that turned. I mean, I'm not saying he was a worm, but there was an old Two Ronnie sketch when I was a kid called The Worm That Turned. I won't go into it now, because if you've never heard of it, it'll sound really weird. But that's the image I have of Daniel, or perhaps the image of the story of the ugly duckling or whatever. It's good. It's good to see. I like it. Anyway, what do you think of Daniel Dubois? Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. I like him, but do you think it's a false dawn? Do you still think he'd quit if he was under the cosh? He might do. And do you think he's serious about wanting to beat Hrgovic? And I don't. I think he's. I mean, I think he is serious about it. Yeah. I don't doubt him. But leave your comments below. As usual, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the like button. And I'll catch you later. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.